This is an interview with Senator Bev Engram, 34th District, State of Georgia. The date is Friday, May the 6th. The interviewer is Professor Diane Folks.
Yeah.
Geographically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be worse. It could be like Hodge-Timmons and had 12 counties.
Uh-huh.
But I just had parts of 3.
Yeah.
So.
Even so.
Yeah.
It's a big area.
It is a big area.
And lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what it's based on, is the population.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we'll start with some questions on family background, other personal types of things, and then
Okay.
move into the political questions.
Okay.
Where were you born?
In Memphis, Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah.
And were you raised there?
Yeah, until I was about 24 years old, 25, and we moved to Georgia.
Uh-huh.
I married my husband, Dale,
Uh-huh.
who is an optometrist
Uh-huh.
and was born and reared in Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Born in Edison, Georgia, reared primarily on the South Georgia campus down in Douglas.
Yeah.
So we wanted to come back to the Atlanta area. And that's the nicest thing that ever happened to me. I didn't know Memphis was so miserable weather-wise
Yeah.
until we hit Atlanta. And I said, golly, I'll never go back to that Mississippi
The Delta.
River Delta.
Right,
Yeah.
very humid.
Hot.
When were you born? What year?
1938,
Uh-huh. Okay.
Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, oh really?
Yeah. There's nothing been weird about me all my life. I mean, if anything were sane, it would be weird.
Yeah. And what did your father do for a living?
My father was a bookkeeper for a cotton firm.
Uh-huh.
So growing up, I have one sister.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have all the really nice amenities of life.
Mm-hmm.
We came up by the bootstraps, really and truly, and shared a hide-a-bed in a one-bedroom duplex,
Uh-huh.
which Dad owned.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a show once a week,
Mm-hmm.
or roller skating once a week. You didn't
Yeah.
do both.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have the extra money.
Right. What firm was it? Was it one of the brokerage firms?
No, it was well, he worked, I guess, up and down Front Street back
Yeah.
when cotton was king,
Right.
before the polyesters came out and
Yeah.
all,
Uh-huh.
the synthetic materials. He's golly, you name a Front Street cotton firm, and he.
I see. So he didn't work for one particular one.
Well, he worked for one for 2 years, and
Mhm.
then for one for
I
3
see.
years, and one for 5 years. You know, he kept getting a little raise.
Right.
But the cotton companies back in those days were notorious for low pay
Uh-huh.
and promises on bonuses
Yeah.
at the end of the year when they sell their cotton, you know, and they're supposed to divide it up.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived on promises his whole life.
Yeah.
In fact, my first job when I got out of school was with IBM.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that shows you how tough things were.
Mhm.
I made more money my first job than
Yeah.
my dad did
Yeah.
after working all of his life.
Right. That's really sad, isn't it?
It is sad.
And that's partly a thing about just time
Yeah, yeah,
advancing and I guess inflation and
true.
that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we never, I mean, you know, Christmas, we got a sweater and a skirt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, something that was practical.
Yeah.
A car we didn't even have until I was in high school.
Huh.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just, I grew up poor.
Right.
You know, that's not, they don't ifs, ands, or buts about
Yeah.
it.
What did your mother do?
She was a Grand Southern belle.
Really?
She went to college for a little bit, but she couldn't do a thing except sit on the front porch and shell peas. Yeah, I
Was
mean,
she from Memphis?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, from Mississippi. They both were from Mississippi.
Yeah.
But they moved, you know, in their early 20s
Uh-huh.
to Memphis, and that's where they met and married.
Yeah. Where were they from in Mississippi?
Well,
Two
my
of them.
mother was from Charleston, Mississippi,
Uh-huh.
which is not any larger than Fairburn
Uh-huh.
right now. And my daddy was from Grenada, Mississippi,
Yeah.
which may have had 500 people more. So it's both small towns
Right.
in Mississippi.
Yeah. I have to tell you that I was born in Memphis.
Were you
Yes,
really?
a year after
How could
you were.
I'll be
And my grandmother, Lo, came from, well, she had relatives in Charleston. She came
Is
from...
that? This is weird.
well, it is. It was Yalobusha County, right?
Tallahatchie.
No, Tallahatchie. Okay,
Tallahatchie
I'm sorry.
County.
And her husband worked for American Optical Company.
Yeah.
And then she did some bookkeeping too. That was my grandmother.
Isn't this a small
On my father's
world?
side. It certainly is.
I mean, because there are very few native Memphians.
Yeah.
It's kind of like finding a native Atlantan. You know,
Right.
they're just not around.
Right. So I know what you're talking about Front Street and the cotton companies and all
Yeah,
that.
on
kind
the
of
levee,
thing.
you
Yeah,
know.
right. The river and
Yes.
and the delta
Yeah.
and the skirts and sweaters for Christmas.
That's right. I guess I didn't know I was deprived because all my friends were deprived too, you know. They, well, they had salary jobs. You just, that age, did not go to college. You know, my daddy would have been a beautiful student. He had a keen mind, but he never was afforded the opportunity to go to college. He had to get out and work.
Go to work.
And help his family.
Right, right.
And then he got married, then he had to really help his family, you know.
Yeah.
And my mother was the same way. She said, I've wasted enough money in college because, hey, Michael, Dick's at the show. Be back in a couple of hours.
Okay, I won't be here.
Oh, okay.
So, where did your mother go to college then before she stopped?
Where did she go?
Would it have been
I don't think it was MSCW.
in Mississippi?
Yeah, yeah. But she just went for like 1 year.
Yeah.
And said, look, this is a waste.
Uh-huh.
She had 7 brothers.
Yeah.
And she was next to the oldest. And she boo-hooed every time she had to leave home. You know, she just thought Charleston was it, and she was not interested in college. She was never a real good student.
Yeah.
And couldn't force it down her. And I think the only reason she was accepted is because her daddy, my granddaddy, was district attorney down there and could pull some strings and knew some folks, you know, that got her in, regardless of her or should I say, irregardless of her grades.
Okay, so coming back to you, where did you go to school?
Well, I have been
Tell me
here,
where you
there,
went
and
to
yonder.
elementary school and high
my
school.
gosh.
I might know where those were too.
Idlewild, are you familiar with
I
Idlewild?
remember the name.
Well, Idlewild School is right behind, you remember Boss Crump, the
Yes.
Crump, who lived on Peabody.
Right.
Idlewild is on the street behind his house.
Yes.
And we lived like 2 streets across from Peabody on Vinton Avenue.
Yeah, I know that neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that's near Bellevue Junior High.
That's where my sister went to
Central
school.
High school.
My sister went to Bellevue Junior. I went to Fairview.
Okay, I did too.
My sister went to Tech, and I went to Central.
We
So-
must have been only a year apart if we were on the
I know it.
same track.
This is weird.
This is really something.
It is. And I've been to 2 school reunions, and still feel like, hey, I'm in pretty good shape compared to some of these other people I've seen.
Yeah.
But this last reunion was the pits. It was last July, as a matter of fact, 87.
Yeah.
And found that 2 of our classmates that were really had tremendous potential to be somebody had committed suicide.
Oh.
He was captain of the football team, and Hayes Gowan was president of the senior class.
Oh, yes. And who was the football captain?
Bo Gentry.
Oh, yes, I know those names. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
know those people very well, but I certainly know those names.
Well, I went through, I didn't go through junior high with Hayes because he went to Bellevue. But Bo and I went through junior high and high school together, and he just had so much going for him.
Huh.
So you can understand if they have cancer or something terminal.
Right.
But just to, get depressed and commit suicide,
Yeah.
it just took, we didn't have a very good class reunion. We really didn't.
Yeah. That's
That
too
threw a
bad.
damper on it.
Right. And that had happened fairly recently.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
within the last couple of
Yeah.
years.
Because there were several of my
Mhm.
classmates, several, 2 or 3 who committed suicide when they were in college, or they
Oh.
died when they were in college of
yeah.
real serious diseases, mysterious
Yes,
diseases.
yes. I
So-
know one of the girls had Monsignor gravis, and you hear about all these weird things,
Mhm.
and you wonder how people turn out.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see the ones that you were close
Mhm.
to anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. So you finished. So you went to Idlewild, Fairview, and Central,
Uh-huh.
and then did you go to college?
I
Or
went
what did
like-
you do then?
Well, basically, I was like my mom and dad.
Uh huh.
Daddy did not have the money to send me through
Right.
school, and my grades were such that I could not afford
Mhm.
to give up my future
Mhm.
for chemistry and biology
Yeah.
and algebra. So I took the technical course.
Mhm.
I took the shorthand, the typing, the bookkeeping, even home ec to learn how to make clothes.
Yeah.
This is the path that I had to choose to go
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
So when I got out of high school, I did get a job with American Motors,
Mhm.
and they paid right well, but they kept you at that pay for a long time too, because they were about to belly up.
Uh huh.
They were not making too
Yeah, that's
much
right.
money with the Rambler.
Yeah.
But I took a course in business English. I've had a course in arts. I've just gone
Mhm.
through. I've had courses from Clayton Jr., from Georgia State, from
Mhm.
Memphis State,
Yeah.
from the University of Tennessee.
Uh huh.
Things that I would want to take
Right.
that would maybe better my
Mhm.
mind.
Mhm.
So I have no formal degree.
But you have lots of
I've had
education.
a lot of education.
Of other sorts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you married your husband. You met him in
Yeah,
Memphis.
in Memphis. He was going
Married.
to Southern College of Optometry
Uh-huh,
right
yeah.
on Union
Mhm.
Avenue,
Right.
right by the Methodist Hospital.
Uh-huh.
And I worked with IBM, which was right next door to the school.
Yeah.
And people said, well, how did you and Dale meet? And I said, well, we met at the Holiday Inn. I figured that makes a pretty good story,
Right.
Of course, I never said it was from coffee breaks,
Right.
The students coming over and getting their coffee, and
Uh-huh.
then IBMers coming over for their coffee.
Yeah.
But I said, we met at the Holiday Inn. Put a little risque in there.
Yeah.
But we dated for about 2 years and decided, okay, let's give it a try. And we've been together 25 long ones now.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when did you move to Atlanta?
In 63.
Uh huh.
63. I said, that's the nicest thing that I think anybody has ever done for me.
Yeah.
Without knowing it,
Uh-huh.
it's coming here, because I can't imagine not having the mountains and the flowers
Mhm.
and this nice humidity.
Yeah.
That's like, you remember we
Oh,
used to
yeah.
fry eggs on
Uh-huh.
the concrete.
That's
in
right.
Memphis.
And it was very humid.
Very humid.
More than it is here. More often
Oh,
than it is
yes, yeah.
here. Uh-huh.
I mean, the heat of the day I can stand in
Mhm.
Atlanta.
Mhm.
It never gets over, 93, 94?
Mhm.
It was breaking 100 every day in Memphis
Yeah.
with the
Uh-huh.
humidity.
Right.
I know when we went for my class reunion, I had Kleenex all over my face. How you just kind of blow.
Uh-huh.
And Dale started laughing. He says, look, if you got a mirror, he said, look at yourself. And I did, and it was Kleenex, I said, I don't do that in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I didn't perspire, I sweated.
Right. The real thing.
The real thing.
And then children, you have how many children?
I've
now?
got 3,
Mhm.
one by a previous marriage.
Uh-huh.
She's 28 and works for Delta.
Uh-huh.
And then I've got my 2 boys that just keep life perking for me.
Right.
One's 13, one's 16.
Yeah. Teenagers.
Teenagers,
Yeah.
yes, goodness.
And are your family involved with you in politics?
Oh gosh, yeah. In fact, they're the ones that taught me. I thought I was going to hang it up this year.
Mhm.
And they say, "Oh, Mom, come on."
You can keep going.
You can do it one more time. That's okay. You've taught me into it.
Uh-huh.
But I enjoy it because you can set your own pace and do what you want to, pretty much.
Yeah. Do you have your other family members, your close family members, are not really around here, are
No,
they? So this
my
is your
sister
family.
is 400 miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I have deserted my family, to be with my family here in
Your
Atlanta.
Georgia family.
Yeah, but we get together. 400 is not that far.
No.
And we'll meet at the beach or we'll meet in the mountains. In fact, last summer my uncle came over from Memphis. He had Bill and Jim's restaurant. You may be familiar with that on Madison. Well, it burned up. So he had some time on his hands. And he met us up in Clayton, Georgia.
Yeah.
We stayed at the Dillard House
In
up
Raven
there.
County, yeah.
Right. And I mean, we just thoroughly enjoyed it. We hired the pontoon boat. We had a speedboat anyway. And stayed with Louise Colburn, who is a character in her own right. She is just precious.
Yeah.
She is a typical mountain lady.
Uh-huh.
And it was an experience for everybody, because you go in there and they say, "Well, y'all come back here." And they would bring in friends to meet us and entertain us. And it's just, I don't know, we've just gotten to be real good friends with Louise and the Dillards up there. And thoroughly enjoyed it. So we still get together once a year at least.
Good. Family reunion.
Yeah.
And so when and how did you first get interested in politics?
Now this is another story.
Good.
Oh, you're from Memphis. You remember a guy named Cliff Davis.
Oh, yes.
There was a Cliff Davis Municipal Building down there where the auditorium used to be. That was named after him.
He was our congressional representative.
Right. He was my uncle.
Oh, he was?
He was my uncle. So he was in Congress. He was in Congress in Washington for like 27 years, I guess. So it all, and we really, back in those days, because I was small, we would have Christmas with my aunt and dad, or we'd meet someplace else, to open gifts, or to have big dinners and that kind of thing. And he was always the cigar smoking, type politician that you think, But
he was one of those wounded in the
exactly
House when the Puerto Rican nationalists shot up the House of Representatives.
He sure did. He took it right in the knee.
Yeah.
And I said, "Uncle Cliff, how did you time that?" I said, "Everybody knew you were on the job." So that was good for at least 5 more re-elections.
In the line of duty.
In the line of duty, because they only had, I think, about 3 that were in the chambers at that time.
That was wild.
It was wild. I remember I was in the 5th or 6th grade when that happened, and wrote a paper on it, because I thought, this is terrible. Why did they let guns into the Capitol building like that? But it was interesting. It really was. And he was probably the last one to buck the Crump machine to get elected. I'm not so sure he stayed bucked after he was in there. I think he may have come across a few things, but he did. Crump did not want him in at all. But he got in spite of it. As I said, once he got there, I think maybe, things weren't as up to par as probably could have been. But
and you mentioned, was it another uncle in Mississippi or a great uncle?
My grandfather was
your grandfather,
district
who was
attorney.
a district attorney.
Down
for that county.
Tallahatchie County.
Yeah. So you had a political family.
Yeah, I did. And all the family reunions when I was growing up evolved around politics. So even as a student in high school, I would go out and work for some candidates, that I really didn't even know about because I wanted to help. And I thought, well, Mommy and Daddy say he's the best one, so I'll go help him.
Yeah.
And they love to have nice little teeny boppers come along, with some fresh blood.
Right, volunteers.
So
bring the story on up to how you ran for the Senate.
Well, it's
in,
really
Georgia.
weird. It's really
Mhm.
weird because I had no intention to do it. My husband has always been. I've loved politics, but
Mhm.
I never thought I'd be involved.
As a
firsthand.
candidate.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My husband was on the city council here in Fairburn for 10 years,
Mm.
and I think he got burned out. With the
Mhm.
dead cat calls.
Mhm.
And Ed Johnson, who was the state senator before me, decided to run for state court judge.
Mhm.
So Ed and Dale were real good friends, and Ed says, Dale, why don't you run for this job? And Dale says, Ed, why don't you button your lip? I've got more problems now than I need. And he says, what about Dale? And I thought, oh my word, when they approached me with
Mhm.
it, I said, who is going to elect a woman? I mean, y'all are still male chauvinists. You really
Mhm.
are.
And this was in the late 70s,
This is
right?
80s, yeah, 1980.
Yeah.
Early 80s when we were
Mhm.
talking about it.
Mhm.
Late 79 when we were planning on
Yeah.
it, maybe. I said, I just don't know if these people are ready for a woman to be in office or not. Because I was the 7th elected back in 1980 out of 250 years of Georgia history.
Yeah,
I mean, you just didn't do that.
right.
But since I decided I would, and I said, well, I'll go after it to win.
Mhm.
And I did have 2 Democratic opponents in the primary
Mhm.
and 1 Republican opponent in the general.
Mhm.
And I won the primary without a runoff
Hmm.
by like 63% of the vote,
Yeah, very good.
which was wonderful. That meant I didn't have to run again,
Right.
in 2 weeks.
You only had 2 elections
That's
instead
right.
of 3.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then it's funny how people will vote because more people voted in the general election, but the percentage was still like 64%
Mhm.
instead of 63.
Mhm.
It was real close, even though there were 10,000 probably more
Yeah.
that voted.
So this is basically a Democratic area.
Well, I think they're more independent.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I ran in '86 against only a Republican,
Mhm.
and this is Newt Gingrich represents us down
Yeah,
there.
right. That's true.
Yeah, all 5 of the Fayette County Commissioners are
Mhm.
Republican.
Hmm.
Verlin Smith,
Yeah.
who was state representative before he died, was a Republican.
Mhm.
Dick Lane was a Republican.
Okay, so it's not.
It's not just cut and dry.
It's 2-party politics.
It's 2-party politics, and I think it's more independent.
Mhm.
I think they'll look at your person
Mhm.
and say, well, hey, she's not like the liberal Democrat from
Mhm.
up north.
Mhm.
And she did this on the budget, and she did that. And she bugged the banks one time trying to lower the interest rate on credit
Mhm.
cards. And here, this time I bucked the Tobacco Institute with
Uh-huh.
my designated smoking bill.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, I'm not afraid.
Uh-huh.
It may not pass, but it's like a fine wine. You don't open it before it's time.
Uh-huh.
And in Georgia, it takes 5 years for a recipe for mom's apple pie to get through.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere.
Right.
But Georgia's so conservative, And I guess I am too, really.
Mhm.
I do not consider myself a liberal.
Yeah.
But I'll follow that yellow stripe down the road
Mhm.
pretty much
Mhm.
and vote what I think is right.
Yeah.
My convictions.
What in your background and in your experiences growing up prepared you to run for office?
I think the experiences that I had, love of politics for
Mhm.
one thing.
Mhm.
I worked with Sam Nunn's office
Mhm.
and helped him in 1977, get his office organized so he could run for the Senate
Yeah.
again in '78. I've worked during the session as a secretary for 2 committees
Mhm.
before I ran.
I see.
And it made me so angry to see how some of the good bills that I have proposed,
Uh-huh.
like, go down the tubes
Uh-huh.
because of strong lobbying efforts.
Huh.
And I said, I will never be placed in somebody's back pocket with their billfold.
Yeah.
I just won't do it.
Mhm.
I'll compromise some things,
Mhm.
but I'll make sure that bill is filled up enough that I can pull some things out of it.
Mhm.
You know, if you don't like this, then we'll cut it this way, you know. So they don't think I'm hard-nosed,
Uh-huh.
you know, just want it all your way.
Yeah.
So you put enough in a bill that you can bring some of it out and make the other person feel like
Have
this.
some negotiations.
Right.
Yeah.
Room to
Uh-huh.
negotiate.
Yeah. So it sounds like certainly you were in a political family and you were involved in campaigns and you
Yeah.
were close enough to politics that you could see how it was done and figured you could do it once
Yeah.
the idea was put in your
I
head.
figured I could do it better.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth, I did.
Once you had gotten over
Uh-huh.
the threshold of saying, all right, I'm going to do it. Well, of course I could do it.
Yeah, I know I can vote better than some of those
Uh-huh.
idiots down there,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
They're so afraid of doing something that's unpopular, and I think fear can be the biggest hindrance to a good politician.
Mhm.
They want to do everything that is right and will serve the most people. Well, sometimes you can't represent your state.
Mhm.
You're in trouble.
Mhm.
And if you can't take an unpopular stand on some issues, then you're not doing a good job representing your constituency or the state.
Yeah.
Like no tax increase. If this governor doesn't get off that bandstand,
Mhm.
you know, and quit that, or else find another way to bring in some tax resources, we can't continue. We cannot fully implement the Quality Basic Education Act as it should be implemented.
Yeah.
We cannot pay our teachers
Mhm.
what they need and what they deserve
Mhm.
because we keep shoveling back on them for more production. And sure, we'll pay you a little more money.
Mhm.
This past year, we gave them a 3% raise.
Yeah.
State employees, we gave them a 2.5% raise. That's an insult to my integrity.
Mhm.
They
That's
know we-
not quite cost of living raise, is it?
No.
With inflation.
No. And fortunately, there are enough systems like Fulton County, Gwinnett, that can subsidize,
Mhm.
you know, what the state pays the teacher. But these little rural areas
Mhm.
can.
Right.
And you get what you pay for. I don't care if it's an attorney
Mhm.
or a doctor
Mhm.
or a surgeon. You know, the more you pay, the better that person's going to be because he wouldn't have to demand that much money.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we can ever get our teachers up to the point where they're happy and get rid of the problem students in that
Mhm.
class and pay them a decent wage, then we will have come a long way.
Yeah.
So that in addition to one of my other pet projects is getting a counselor in the elementary and middle schools
Mm.
to help these kids that have single parents
Mm.
and come home to a key latch
Yeah.
situation,
Mhm.
or to see their mothers abused or their sisters abused,
Yeah.
and they're afraid to speak out.
Mhm.
They've got to have some place to go. No wonder these kids are dropping out of school.
Mhm.
I don't think they choose to do it. I think they have no choice.
Yeah. So you're saying there's really a need for like psychological counseling,
Absolutely.
not just career counseling
Not
for the youngsters,
career counseling, no.
but
Usually, by the time they get into high school, you have
mhm.
2 years of college,
Yeah.
and you know either your parents can send you to college or not.
Mhm.
I'm not worried about career counseling.
Yeah.
I really am not.
But these other things,
But these
bring
other
up
things,
real
I think,
serious.
are dropouts.
Yeah.
That you're going to keep them in school, or else you're going to attend to them in Alto,
Mhm.
or these youth
Yeah.
detainment centers that we've got.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that you can't get your point across to those in the higher ups.
Mhm.
You're either going to put it on this end or wait until they're 16 and then send them to jail.
Mhm. It's too late then.
It's too late then.
Yeah.
You've lost them.
Mhm.
You have absolutely lost them.
Mhm.
And they don't know to go talk to their teachers, and they certainly are not going to talk to their mother
Mhm.
or their father or their stepfather or the mother's boyfriend
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Mhm.
Because they're the ones that are doing the abusing.
Part of the problem.
That's it.
Yeah.
They have created the problem
Mhm.
themselves.
Hmm.
So it just, it's sad, how you want to spend your money, it's going to be spent.
Yeah.
And I'd like rather try to do it preventive
Right.
maintenance
on the
on
positive
the bottom,
end
yes,
rather than on the negative
to
end.
save the life,
Yeah,
instead of spending.
right. It's good. Let's see. Going back to your first run for office, how did you organize your first campaign, and who were some of your key organizational people?
Would you believe my husband and I were just hard-headed enough
Uh-huh.
and just was determined enough that I had a campaign manager and I had a secretary and I had a treasurer.
Mhm.
And in fact, you know, my campaign manager was one of my biggies. He's with me still.
Mhm.
My treasurer did all that work about filing reports and so
Yeah.
forth.
Campaign expenditures.
Yeah, but as far as leg work, you got to get out there and flesh the press. You know,
Press the flesh.
Flesh the press. Yeah, you've got to do it. You've
Right.
got to meet those people and
Uh-huh.
let them meet you.
Yeah.
So it's fine to have a representative, but these people don't want to meet a representative. They want to meet you.
Yeah.
And
Did you have volunteers though to?
yeah, just like
do-
Royce in there.
Uh-huh.
He says, "All right, tell me when to come.
Uh-huh.
You know, get the hole digger. We'll get them signs up."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, the primary's not until August, and we don't want to do it too soon."
Yeah.
But
But what kinds of people volunteer for your campaign to?
people I don't even know. I've got
Really?
a note over there. It's a 767 number now. It says wants to help in your campaign.
Uh-huh.
And I have strangers call me.
Mhm.
Or strangers that will have called 7 years ago for
Mhm.
a favor
Yeah.
through a State Department. They couldn't get their insurance paid, you
Uh-huh.
know, whatever. And I would intervene, and they would
Mhm.
be so surprised. Well, you don't even know me. I said, I don't have to know you.
Yeah.
And I didn't even ask you if you voted for me.
Mhm.
I didn't even ask if you voted.
Uh-huh.
You know, but they keep coming back.
Yeah.
And I guess yesterday I must have had 6 phone calls from people in Fayette County.
Uh-huh. Constituents who
Constituents who
something,
needed something.
help on some
Uh-huh.
problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And people, I don't know everybody I help.
Yeah.
How can you know 140,000 people?
That's
and that's
right.
who I'm representing.
Yeah. Are there any particular groups that are kind of part of your support network, like church group or educational groups?
I think
or anything like
educational
that?
groups, they know how sincere I am
Mhm.
with trying to help them.
Is this like
Um,
PTAs?
PTAs, GAs,
Yeah.
PACE, you know, you name it. The,
I'm not familiar with
GAEL,
PACE.
PACE is the Fulton County Association
Oh.
of Educators.
Mhm.
Douglas County Association of Educators. The Democratic Party, of course. Colleagues that I know in the Senate,
Mhm.
you know, have given their time and written letters. and
Uh-huh.
come down and try to help me put up some yard signs.
Yeah. Huh.
It's just, I don't know, it's neat to see where your support comes
Mhm.
from.
Mhm.
And I said, I guess with all this annexation and de-annexation that happened in Fayette County this past
Mhm.
session, everybody knows who Bev Engram is.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake in listing myself under the E's and the I's in the phone book.
Mhm.
So I'm totally available.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to run from anybody. They can get me. All they have to do is pick up the phone and call.
Yeah, and they do. They
Yeah.
feel like they can.
Yeah.
What about money for the campaign? Was raising money a problem, or how did you go about that?
Believe it or not, it was fairly simple. It really was for me. And I think it's because I had worked up there for 5 years.
You were known
by the
quantity.
lobbyist.
Yeah.
And not too many individuals will send you checks.
Mhm.
They don't think about, they think this is your civic duty.
Mhm.
They don't realize how much an ad cost in the
Right.
newspaper. Or those yard signs, you know, and
Uh-huh.
I think, oh, please don't throw those yard signs away. You know, paying for the stakes, you know, to go
Uh-huh.
in the yards. You've
Yeah.
got to have money.
Mhm.
I mean, having a yard to put it in is lovely too.
Mhm.
But
Do you do a direct mail solicitation, or you know,
Yeah.
how do you?
yeah, and that
Get
takes
money.
a lot of time.
Right.
That's when you get the volunteers in the house.
Mhm.
And if you can get 15 people together, they can put out some mail.
To do a mailing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out the easiest way to get something mailed.
Mhm.
And the Democratic Party has been a tremendous service, of course you pay for it, in mailing labels to households.
Yeah.
And they say, well, what year do you want? And usually you go to the last presidential, if it's 2 years ago, governor's race,
Yeah.
2 years ago.
And they'll provide labels
And they'll
for you.
provide the labels, yeah. You buy them, but they'll provide them.
Yeah.
And
They'll
they're
generate them.
recent.
Yeah.
Nothing's over 2 years old.
Do you think the fact that you had the support in your recruitment of the former state senator,
Yeah.
that kind of legitimated you as a candidate,
Not
and people
really.
were willing to?
Not really,
No?
because he was a judicial candidate, which made him stay out of politics.
But had he been in the Senate? You said?
Yeah, he had
But he was
been.
leaving the Senate to
Yeah,
run for a judicial
but
post.
he's very ethical.
But I see he had to, okay, he had
Very
to stay
ethical.
out of
Uh-huh.
other politics.
Right, so
Yeah.
I had to get in with both feet and just, I guess.
Yourself. Mhm.
Myself. And I started early. I started in March, and I must have put 20,000 miles on that van I had. From, at that time, it was Cascade to south of Fayette. And since then, I've reduced area, and I'm sure during the 9-year reapportionment, it will be reduced again.
Yeah, in
Because of the
physical
growth
size.
in this area. Yeah.
But the population will be the same, pretty
Yeah,
much. Well, I
right.
guess they'll all increase in population, but
Yeah,
you'll have a
because
smaller area to
that's
work with.
one thing about our Constitution.
Mhm.
The House says there can be no fewer than 180 members.
Mhm.
The Senate says you cannot have over 56 members. So I feel like maybe I will have to give up some population to some rural areas.
Mhm.
And I don't know if mine might grow in land use or what.
Mhm.
But it's strictly if there are 8 million people in Georgia,
Mhm.
it will have to be 8 million into 56.
Yeah. So everyone's going
Which
to have.
keeps you busy. It
Right.
does.
Everybody's going to have more constituents next time around.
Yeah,
I would-
at least in the Senate. Maybe
Mhm.
not in the House. If
Yeah.
they want to add more reps in
Right.
the House, that's up to them.
Yeah. Let's see, you've answered those questions. Now, when you got your first term in office, we've still got
Yeah,
some tape.
okay.
How did you approach that first term? How did you learn the ropes, or did you need to learn the ropes as a new
I
senator?
learned the ropes by keeping my mouth shut.
Listening.
Exactly. And if any newcomer does otherwise, there's some old ones just can't wait to swat them down. Just can't wait. So you learn the hard way,
Mhm.
And I was smart enough trying to sit back and look and assess the people that I was having to work with.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of, particular senators that you got closer to who kind of told you some things, showed you the ropes, so to speak?
Yeah, I think they could have done a better job.
Uh-huh.
Because I now have learned from my mistakes.
Mhm.
I would call him Perry Hudson because I knew Perry.
Mhm.
And
Is he in a neighboring
Yeah, he's up in Hateful.
district?
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's Frank Coggin took his place, and then Arthur Langford took his
Mhm.
place in the Senate. But I felt comfortable in asking Perry something.
Mhm.
And then there was also Janice Horton from
Yeah.
McDonough.
Mhm.
And I felt comfortable. We were the only 2 females there.
Yeah.
So,
And let's see, she had come in the term before you,
right,
so
she
she
took
had
Virginia Shepard's
some
place.
experience, yeah,
Uh-huh.
already. Uh-huh.
But that's one thing that you don't try to tell them how to vote,
Mhm.
or you don't tell them that they're making a mistake.
Mhm.
Like, I knew it was a mistake for them not to sign my designated smoking bill.
Uh-huh. But they
I
didn't know
knew-
that.
They didn't know that. Now I'm writing articles for the newspaper
Uh-huh.
and having interviews with Ron Saylor and B.B. Emerson and all that.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that.
Uh-huh.
And I did, because I gave up smoking a year and a half ago
Mhm.
in fall of '86. And I am more aware.
Yeah.
of what's going on
Mhm.
now. The health foods,
Mhm.
you know, the exercise,
Mhm.
the low sodium diet.
Right.
You know, people are smarter nowadays, and I just know they're more health conscious, and that's why the cigarette. Well, in 1964, Coop said there were 55% of the population that smoked.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's 26.5.
Yeah, it's really gone down. This
Way
is a trend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
You either
the,
quit or you don't start. Because
Surgeon
you know it's
General.
hazardous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's obviously hazardous for your health.
Right.
And not many people want to just really take it to an early grade.
Mhm. So, do you think you're more health conscious than your colleagues, perhaps? Most
Oh, I
of
know
your
I am.
colleagues?
I know I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What do
really
you
am.
attribute that to, or do you attribute that to anything?
Well, it's because I have a genetic disease. Now,
Mhm.
you talk about ties and roots.
Uh-huh.
My original ancestry comes from Ireland.
Huh.
I found that out.
Uh-huh.
I have a genetic disorder that does not produce an enzyme for my body.
Ah.
And it causes the lungs to become less pliable.
Uh-huh.
So you're more prone to early emphysema.
Mhm. Mhm.
At first it was asthma, you know, and then it was bronchitis. And now it's emphysema.
Mhm.
You know, it's just gone that way.
Yeah.
But I've had it for 50 years.
Mhm.
The lack of this particular enzyme has been with me for 50 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am more conscious of it. Plus, I've been using corn oil to cook with for 20 years, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
Since an RN told me 20 years ago, don't use that vegetable fat.
Yeah.
Use corn oil.
Uh-huh.
It's okay.
No cholesterol.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yet I still have a high cholesterol count. And I think it's probably one of those inherited facts
Mhm.
too,
Mhm.
that it can be inherited.
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious of what's baked or
Mhm.
broiled,
Mhm.
pan fried,
Right.
you know, without grease and all
Uh-huh.
that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe your colleagues are going to note what's going on around
That's
them more,
right.
and
I
they'll
hope
catch up.
I hope they will, but they're
I
a
mean,
bunch of men.
Yeah, but with the airlines having cut out smoking, I
Absolutely.
mean, that is a major change.
Oh, it is, but they're. I have received so much support.
Mhm.
Richest department store
Uh-huh.
says they're trying to make their workplace smoke free for
Yeah.
their employees.
Mhm.
Well, I can understand it in the retail areas, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
but it just tickles me to death that they're doing it for
In
the
the work
clerical.
areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the work areas. Cardinal Industries down here in College Park
Mhm.
does these modular apartments.
Mhm.
They won't hire a smoker.
Hmm.
And statistics prove that a smoker is sick more
Yeah.
often than one who does
Mhm.
not smoke.
So it's a costly,
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
costly
thing.
habit for the employee and the employer.
physically and economically.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Let's see, finishing up on campaigns, when you, the next times you run for the Senate,
Mhm.
because you've now been in 4 terms, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you're getting
Yeah.
ready to run again.
Run again.
Has your method of campaigning changed in any way now that you've become an incumbent?
I think so. I think so. Simply because of 8 years of meeting other people
Mm-hmm.
and helping other people with their problems.
Mhm.
8 years of the media attention,
Yeah.
you know, has made a difference.
Mhm.
I'm more comfortable. I feel more knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was telling Royce, I said, Royce, first of all, I was 8 years younger, you know. Here I am 50 now. I said, it's just not quite as important, you know. I feel like some of the slack has been taken up
Uh-huh.
for me, and people do know who I am. And complete strangers, you know,
Mm-hmm.
call me all the time.
Want to help?
Yeah, can
Yeah.
you help me get my social security? No, I can't, but call Nikki, just
Uh-huh.
use this number, you know.
Yeah.
That's not my expertise.
Mhm.
But I had 2 guys call me last week about they were state employees, and one was being garnished almost for lack of paying his medical bills.
Mhm.
And I called the state health merit system.
Mhm.
It says, look, y'all either have to write these doctors a letter saying the computer's down, or else mail that check to them. You know, so this is not right.
Yeah.
So it's different. Board of Regents. One girl over in Fayetteville was trying to get transferred to Georgia State. Well, she graduated from Bobby Jones over in South Carolina, which is a private school.
Right.
And Georgia State told her, you can go to the University of Georgia, or you can go to Kennesaw, but we will not accept your grades here. Well, I called the Board of Regents, Dr. Tom Daniel. I said, what's our standard here? It should be the same for one school as it is for any other state school institution. Well, Clayton's gearing up now from being a junior college to a state college.
Yeah.
So I can understand, you know, they've got to put their things in motion. But there's no reason. If it's a state-supported institution, one credit ought to be the same everywhere.
So she was trying to get transfer credit as a student.
As a student,
Transferring from one school
She
to
was
another.
a lovely lady, you know, in talking with her. She wanted to go back to school. I think her primary major from Bobby Jones was home ec. She wants to go into elementary education.
Yeah.
And they would not recognize some of her courses. But Kennesaw was going to recognize them. The University of Georgia was going to recognize them. And there's no reason for Georgia State not to recognize them.
I hope she got it worked out.
I hope she did too. If not, they may have another little bill dropped on them next year. But that's the neat thing is trying to help people.
Yeah.
Constituent service, I guess.
Right. That's very important.
Yeah.
Fun. Forgot to turn off the speaker. Now, well, let's see where we are. So, do you consider now that that you're making a career in the Senate, so to speak? You know, a political career. Do you foresee continuing as
If
a
not
senator?
there, somewhere else.
Somewhere else. You want to stay in office? if
I
possible.
enjoy the political arena. I really do. I'm not sure that I'm willing to give up all of my time. And there are a lot of people out there that expect you to give up all of your time. Not for $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go make some money. You know? I do it because I think anybody in public office does it because they enjoy the civic pride or the sharing or the same reason I organized a junior women's club down here 10 years ago was because 10 or 20 years ago was because there was a need and I wanted to do something to improve the area. And I felt like that did improve the area.
Yeah. In your other campaigns for election, have you faced opposition after the first time when you had opposition in the primaries?
In
Have people-
86, that was the only
They
time.
let you alone for 2 more terms and then they came back.
The Republicans
Last time.
did. I got targeted
Uh-huh.
by a Fayette County Republican
Yeah.
who had been on the commission and he resigned to run. This is funny to me. It's funny. On his form, as you file, sign your affidavit saying you're qualified and so and so. My occupation was homemaker. It wasn't state senator. It wasn't legislator. It was homemaker. He had put down county commissioner. I said, well, the poor fool doesn't even know he had to resign to run. He's no longer that.
Yeah.
Anymore, as soon as he plopped down his money.
That's over. Yeah.
That's it.
But you haven't had any Democratic opposition then?
No. I understand I will have some this time.
Really?
Yeah. And she's a very, very attractive lady. She's the only one that I know for sure that has announced.
Yeah.
I've heard that maybe 3 others might. But when it comes to putting $400 down, you get a little more thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Am I really going to do it, or do I just really want to? You know?
So if you do get opposition this time around in the primary, you'll have to gear up your campaign
Yeah, that's what
organization
Royce
a little
was
more.
talking about.
Yeah.
You know, well, I'm ready. Let's go put out
Yeah.
those signs. So, but it's too early. You know, hadn't even qualified yet.
Yeah. Okay, now, looking at how you go about your business in the state senate, what relationships affect your political career, your ability to stay in office or your ability to pass legislation? And we've talked about the constituency pretty much.
Yeah.
How that's really one of your, I think they call it
it's my
casework.
strong point.
That's a strong point for you. And you've mentioned the political party as being important during campaign time. What about during the legislative session? How does the party come into play there? Since it's a Democratic House, basically.
It is a Democratic House, and I think it will be a Democratic House for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And if you're not a Democrat, it's very difficult to get bills passed. It's very difficult to get grant money for your local folks, you know. It's, well, being a Democrat really makes it easier. It may not make it right,
Yeah.
but it makes it easier to get things done.
Uh-huh. Are there factions within the party, within the Senate, though, so that...
Haven't you ever heard about being a member of the Democratic Party?
Yes,
I am not a member of any organized party. I am a Democrat.
Meaning we're unorganized.
That's exactly right. Everybody's got a mind of their own.
Yeah.
They have their own priorities.
Uh-huh.
That's why I say you don't go in there and try to tell somebody what they should do or should not do. They learn the hard way.
Yeah. Are there factions around who works with Zell Miller and who doesn't work with Zell Miller? Would that be one of the main divisions among
Who works with the
Democrats?
governor and who works with the speaker.
Yeah, uh-huh.
You know, it does. It has a lot to do with it. In fact, the highway, you know, is notorious. That's, for example, because everybody is aware of it. The highway, when they want legislation passed, comes to the Senate first, and then they hope to get it through the House. You know, for some reason, the House does not like those designated tax dollars that are spent on gasoline to help, you know, keep the roads in shape.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a user's tax. You know, I have no problem with that at all. The more gas you use, the more money you're going to have to work with. And as fast as we're growing, we need all we can get.
Yeah.
In fact, it makes me very angry to read in the paper where Fulton County has just spent $2.6 million for the arts. When a 50-cent fee to go into a museum is not going to break anybody's back.
Yeah.
And yet it would help pay from people who've never even been in that museum. We do this in state buildings all the time. Like Unicorn. You pay. It's reasonable, but you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Going to Jekyll Island, it's $1 to go over there. It's a user's fee. Whereas if I don't go, I don't have to pay it. And I think that's a fair way to raise money.
Yeah. Well, there is an admission for the High Museum.
How much?
Members get in free, but they've paid a membership.
Yeah.
And the general public who are not members pay $2 or $2.50, I believe. At least $2, I'm pretty sure. So that's to get into the new
The
museum.
Woodruff,
The new
Woodruff
art
Center.
museum. Yeah.
Well, some of those organizations that they listed, I have never even heard.
Yeah, there
of.
may be some that don't charge.
Yeah. But you're wondering if you're paying Aunt Sally or Uncle Joe or, you know, just what's happening to that money? Is it really being monitored? Is it just They fill out a grant and you fill it out and send it to them.
Yeah.
So I've got my doubts.
Your wonders.
I do. I think, well, the zoo finally is paying off. But they were smart enough to put in a user's fee.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go to the zoo,
Pay an admission.
pay an admission and help to build that place up.
Mhm.
And now we're coming
It's coming
toward
along.
a first-class zoo.
Yeah.
But for a city of Atlanta size, it's ridiculous not to have one.
Right. Yeah. What about the press? You've also mentioned the press some in the past. It sounds like you work with the Journal-Constitution, the big metropolitan newspaper, as well as, do you work with local?
Yeah, I've got to work
Newspapers.
with local because they're South Fulton Extras, you
Mhm.
know, they're the South Fulton News, the South Fulton Neighbor, the Fayette News, the Fayette Neighbor, plus Fulton County, you know, takes the Journal-Constitution.
Right.
But they took a big interest in that smoking bill.
Yeah.
Very big.
So you see that as helping your educational, you're educating the rest of
The word is getting out.
Legislators.
Everybody was
About-
so afraid, I can't sign that. I think it's a wonderful idea, but I can't sign it.
Yeah.
So, all right, go ahead, namby-pamby.
Uh-huh. But its time will come.
It's time.
Probably.
will come.
Yeah.
Just like the airlines, you
Mhm.
know, and all these industries. And I have received more mail from, people like from Videa,
Mhm.
from support groups like the Georgia Baptist Convention. I didn't know they even knew I had a bill
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
But before they killed it in committee, one of the members who lives in Augusta
Mhm.
and was told that he was supposed to pass this bill went on record saying, I know it's not coming up for a vote, I know it's too late to get it out, but I want it to be shown on record that I am for Senate Bill 481.
Mhm.
So that's what the power of the press can do for you.
Yeah.
They can make you or break you.
Yeah. And right now it's working
It's
in your
working.
favor to have that kind of
It
relationship.
really is.
And then what about the governor? What about your relationship with the governor?
I like him very much. There's some things that I differ with him on. And one is the no tax increase.
Yeah.
I differ with the Atlanta papers on it too. I believe that a sales tax is a very fair tax. If you have the money, you're going to spend it. If you don't, you won't. And that 1 cent is not going to make or break anybody. Especially if it's put toward good use, you know. And I feel like the state does a good job in handling the budget.
Yeah.
There are a few boondoggles I would like to see done with that, like the farmers market in Perry, Georgia, the Dalton Mart, you know, Carton Mart up there. I still don't. Of course, I don't expect everything to come to Atlanta. I really don't. I think the other areas need things too. But have you ever been to that? What's in Tiff County?
Agrorama?
Agrorama.
I've seen it as we go past on
I've never been
I-75.
there. I've never been there, but the state supports it.
Mhm.
And I guess they do a good job. I just don't know. I'm just not one of them that takes advantage of
Yeah.
it.
You assume it's a tourism
You assume it is,
thing.
you know. But Powers Ferry does a beautiful job. The Renaissance Fair over in Fairburn. And they're privately owned and operated.
Yeah.
So I just think the state ought to stay out of some areas that they've gone into.
Yeah.
And leave it to private enterprise to develop it. It's going to be profitable.
Yeah. Well, how does the governor work in the Senate, or does he try to?
He's got his floor leaders. Through the floor leaders, and he's got some very good ones. He really does. Roy Barnes in the Senate is so astute and so smart, just genius. Of course, his glasses look like Coke bottles, you know. And there is talk of him running for governor one of these days. And,
Oh, you mean, I was thinking first of thick lenses, but you mean Coca-Cola. Do you mean Coca-Cola
no,
money?
thick lenses.
All right, thick lenses, not
Thick
Coca-Cola.
lenses. I mean, from overusing his eyes.
I see, okay.
Studying. But he can catch on to something like that.
Yeah.
He's witty. He's personable. We tease him all the time because he's always needing a haircut. He's got naturally curly hair. And poor thing has a time with it. He really does. We kid him the first day of the session. He said, "Well, Roy, you must be running for governor." Said, "You've gotten a haircut and a new suit." And a tie without a stain on it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We know what direction you're taking.
Yeah. And how does that operation, the governor's floor leaders work with the lieutenant governor, who's the head of the Senate?
Well,
do they work together, or
most of the
at
times, all three of them, the speaker, the lieutenant governor, and the governor, try their darndest to work together. But there are issues like a couple of years ago, if you remember, the lieutenant governor wanted to put in a sales tax. Well, the Fulton County delegation didn't want it because we have 5% here. And then we had just voted in, I think, we just voted in the local option. We didn't know how it was going to work. Well, in Fulton County, it ain't worked flip. City of Fairman's done wonders with theirs. We hadn't had a tax increase in 4 years. But the lieutenant governor wanted that. I had to say no. You know, representing my constituency, I had to say no. The governor, of course, is no tax increase. And he meant it.
Yeah.
This may be Michael Bowers.
Now let's see, where were we? We were talking about relationships with legislative leaders, and you were describing the governor and the floor leaders. Sometimes, or try to work with the lieutenant governor and the speaker of the house, but not always do those agree.
They have diversities too, even though three of them are Democrats. You know, if they were Republicans, they'd be cloned out of the same mold. You would never have a dissenting vote. But Democrats are not like that. You know, we have a mind of our own and we use it. But we try to get along and be compatible. It's hard to do sometimes when you feel so dogmatic about one thing.
And then another group would be your local county delegation, or for you, it would be 3 county delegations, wouldn't it?
Right.
And you just mentioned how on the sales tax you voted against it because it wasn't what your Fulton County delegation
the whole delegation says, look, Fulton County is loaded now. Let some of these other counties who have not voted in the local option, you know, but let's get Fulton County out of it. We just loaded down. Plus our property tax, plus our ad valorem, plus scoop tax, plus everything else. We are taxed to death just for living in Fulton County.
Are county delegations generally able to get along pretty well within themselves, or I suppose there are issues that can blow them apart?
Yeah, they are. Fulton County is so diverse. Yeah, it really is.
Is it difficult to get consensus on
it's
what's
easier
going to be
in
supported?
The Senate than
there
it is in the
people,
House. That's right. There's only 7 of us in the Senate. And I think we're just, you don't have, 21 of them yelling, trying to take center stage all the time. And that makes a difference. So you can sit down and rationalize and see what's good and what's bad. I know one thing I went with Arthur Langford on this last time that the Senate disagreed with, but it was because I was in Fulton County. The city of Atlanta has a 3-day waiting period for gun registration. And I think what's good for Atlanta should be good for the state. I don't think we ought to penalize the rest of Fulton County, Gwinnett, Cobb, any surrounding counties, Douglas, Fayette, Coweta, you name it. I think it ought to be, statewide. I feel this way with emissions control. The Fed says a population thing, then you have to have emissions control stickers on your car.
With a certain level of population. Size of population.
Yeah, it's on a population basis. And I'm saying these people from Coweta, Fayette, surrounding, probably go into Atlanta more than I do. They're polluting the air.
Yeah.
It's not me. It's them.
So they should have emission control.
I really
too.
think that. I firmly believe. If that's the idea of clean air, and I believe in clean air, and clean lakes, and all this good stuff.
Sure.
And it doesn't take that long to do. So why are we just saying, all right, 4 counties, y'all don't do it? I think any county that touches those 4 counties should be having to do this also.
Or you could argue all counties in the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Standard metropolitan.
Yeah. All
Statistical
15 or
area,
18,
which is,
whatever.
about.
Because they come into Atlanta to work,
right.
to shop, to go to movies,
So what are the chances of that bill ever passing?
It didn't do too well. The rural boys said, no, we don't want it.
We want to blow out our
That's right.
oil.
Coming through your expressway.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got no problem with it down on the coast. But I still think if Elizabeth Doe had been very serious on her environmental agency legislation, that she would have gone a bit further, not just population, but any county touching one of those populous counties.
They would have seen to it that these kinds of things had to be done at the local level.
Right.
From the national level.
Yeah.
What about the other women? There's only one other woman in the Senate, right?
Right.
And she's a Republican.
Right.
And then there are many more women in the House, and many more now than there were when you entered the Senate. How do you work with the women?
We work well. The problem is the House has their agendas, the Senate has their agendas, and it's very difficult to get together when we're in session.
Yeah.
They break for lunch 20 minutes before we do, or an hour before we do. They're coming back for lunch when we break for lunch. So we don't get the camaraderie that we would like to have. And it's hard to.
Are there particular bills that you've worked with the women in particular on to get passed?
I've worked with Kathy Steinberg on several. One was this domestic violence bill that it was a resolution she had drawn over in the House, and the same resolution I had drawn over in the Senate, asking the Georgia Police Academy and the Georgia Benevolent Police Association to institute a curriculum so that these officers would be better equipped when they come into a family abuse situation to handle it. And you're seeing more and more and more of it.
That's right.
So I've worked with her on that. She's worked with me. She handled my access to your patient's records is what it is. Used to be you would have to have an attorney to get a medical doctor to give you a copy of your records that you had to pay for.
Like your test results?
Exactly. Like my test results.
Yeah.
Now, I would want my medical records if I had to move to Memphis. I would want them to go with me.
Yeah.
And he says, no, we'll send them. I said, no, I want to take them. I paid for them.
They're mine.
They're mine. So if you wrote any dirty words on there, well, they're going to be there for posterity. So that bill did pass.
It did pass.
It did pass. So everybody can get a copy of their records now if they want. But I know Derek has Oh, well, he's had pneumonia, he's had bronchitis, he's had this, that, and the other.
This is one of your sons.
Uh-huh. And I wanted a copy of his medical records to take to Eggleston to have somebody else review them and say, is this all right, you know? And I got them,
Yeah.
you know. So it works.
It worked.
It did.
Good. It's nice to know that the law is being carried out.
That's right.
As intended.
That's right.
What about the Black Caucus? Do you find issues that you work with them on as the Black Caucus, or do they see?
They don't
you know,
see us. The only time we hear from the Black Caucus is when they got tickets to sell to dinners or tributes or something like that.
Fundraisers.
Fundraisers. Yeah.
But some of the black legislators are in your Fulton County delegation, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, you just mentioned a while ago a particular
with
bill you
Arthur
worked with
Langford,
Arthur
yeah.
Langford on.
And I know that the National Rifle Association thinks, you know, I'm sorry.
We'll go get them.
I know, but I had a reason, you know, to vote like I did. And it's hard to explain sometimes. But I also agree with Arthur. I don't think a child who is mentally incapable or retarded should have to face a death penalty.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think that's sad, but it's...
Is he the one that introduced that bill? And it did pass, finally, didn't it?
I think it was stopped in the House, or it may have been stopped in the Senate. When you look at 2,000 pieces of legislation for the past 8 years, you have to get a composite out and say, oh, that passed, that passed, that passed.
Right. And then the centerpiece always is the budget anyway.
Yes,
and
that's
all of
the
these
main.
other bills are kind of coming in
That's
and out.
exactly right.
And some pass and some don't.
Yeah.
Or some finally do.
Yeah.
What about committee work? What do you consider your most important committee assignments?
Well, I enjoy, I believe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the Corrections Committee, the Senate Corrections Committee. We're going to be touring coastal states in Savannah, Reedsville, looking at their farm industry out there.
Yeah.
And of course, they all know we're coming, so the prisons will be spick and spanking clean, you know, with
Everything
clean
will be running
uniforms.
fine.
Yeah, but it's still it's a real education to walk into like Jackson Diagnostic.
Yeah, even a clean prison is different.
I
from,
don't want any part of it.
Yeah,
And
it
I'll
gets your
argue with
attention.
anybody. Yes, well, it's a clubhouse. It's not
No
a
way.
clubhouse. I would go bonkers if I had to have that little cell and no privacy, and know that I'm in there for 10 years.
Yeah.
I may be out in the yard exercising, but I'm thinking, what does the Atlanta Stadium look like?
Yeah.
And the only way these correctional officers have any, I guess, control over the inmates is by saying, all right, you can't have a CocaCola for a week now, like you would a child.
Yeah.
That's demeaning, that's awful. But that's the only way you can punish somebody, because they don't have very much in there anyway. Your TV privileges have been taken away from you. So I have enjoyed studying about our corrections system. I surely have. And my hat goes off to the pardons and parole members who have to make these decisions on who to let go and who to study.
Yeah. Are there other committees that you also?
Oh, yeah, I have to say, I really do like all of them.
Yeah.
Education is very interesting. Plus, it gives me an opportunity to sound off on my counselor's bed for elementary and middle, you know, and I'm forever making digs into that.
Yeah.
And it's coming to fruition. I see big inroads.
Good.
The Georgia Association of Educators have picked it up. The PTAs have picked it up. There's several school systems who have now instituted that. That it's something that's coming. But it's like anything else, it's just going to take a while.
Yeah, and it really forms a relationship between those two committee assignments, education and correction.
It does.
I mean, you're trying to
Get them
off,
out.
Get
them off of the past. That's
right. Yeah. And are you still on the appropriations committee?
Yeah, still am doing that.
And does that take up most of your time, or are you able to?
No, not really. Pretty much it's among 3 people.
Is that part of the Green Door Committee?
It's
That's
like
really
it
the way it
starts
works,
from the second floor in the governor's office and goes up to the 3rd floor with the speaker, and then back down to the 2nd floor with the lieutenant governor's office. They're the ones that really have the impact.
Yeah. So you're saying the Appropriations Committee really doesn't have that much to say?
They don't really have that
About
much
the
to
budget.
say. And pretty much what is in that budget has been fixed.
Before it gets to you.
Before it gets to us,
Yeah.
You've only got so many dollars to work with. But now if you have opened a jail and you need to have a desk, you know, you need to make sure that that's in the appropriations bill. So you look out for your own constituency being on the, there's not a thing you're going to do about salaries or buildings. You know, they're all locked in.
Yeah.
How many pencils do you buy? How many pens? How much paper? So that's pretty much taken care of every day.
And you mentioned those 3 people. They're public officials. I mean, they're high officials.
Yeah.
But you also hear about the Green Door Committee,
They're,
which includes them, those 3,
Yeah.
plus a few others, right?
if not the governor, his emissary.
Yeah.
You know. If not the lieutenant governor's emissary.
Yeah. Who would be another senator?
Right.
Yeah.
Like Terrell Starr is, and he's the appropriations chairman for
Yeah.
the Senate.
So you
Bubba
would approve.
McDonald. You know, they're the ones that keep into it, but
Yeah.
they keep back and forth with their bosses too.
Yeah. How did you get your committee assignments?
I was really lucky. I really was. Plus a little horse trading there got me on appropriations. I've forgotten now what Zell. To get his power back. He was being ready to be stripped of his power by some other folks I'll put in the Senate. Okay. And he wrote out a letter, and I know where it came from. It came from the Silver Fox from Milledgeville, Culver Kid.
The Silver Fox.
Because I could read between the lines, and I said, that's Culver's doing. I know it. I know it. He wrote out a letter saying, I am making committee assignments. If I don't hear from you by such and such, I will make the assignments without asking you. Well, honey, he got 55 of them to send in there. And that's how I got appropriations.
So people ask for their ask for their assignments, and
that's right. And I got every one I wanted. I got economic development and tourism, which has been a real pleasure. Trying to see, and that's why I say these users fees work.
Right.
They really work. And I wish the counties and the cities would do more of it. You could have more. Pay as you go.
Yeah.
We're in a good climate here. Economically, you know, we provide a lot of services, and that's why we have not had to have a tax increase. But the economics have slowed down tremendously.
Yeah.
So I can see that our governor's just going to have to eat some words or some crow or something.
A crunch is coming.
He's going to make sure you get lots of salt and pepper.
Oh. What kinds of legislation have been of greatest concern to you? You mentioned several bills and
Yeah,
things along the way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because I'll never see human resources, but health issues are very dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I've passed 4 pieces of handicap legislation trying to make buildings more accessible.
Yeah.
And that opens records meeting bill. I know Fayette County's going to have a hard time because they hold their commission meetings up on the 3rd floor. Now, if you're in a wheelchair or you are handicapped, you can't get up there from here. So I don't know what they're going to do about it, but they're going to have to conform.
Yeah.
And it should be. I mean, you should not have to be classified as a second-class citizen simply because of a handicap.
Right.
And I think the patient's records thing, another bill that did not make it out of committee this year. But then, have you ever heard of the Medical Association of Georgia?
Yes.
Do you know how powerful they are?
I think I do.
I had put in a bill to require that they take 22 hours of continuing ed a year. You would have thought that I had just absolutely taken a 45 and nailed it to their heads. They didn't like being told that at all. And most of them said, well, we do it anyway. And I said, well, you got no problem with the bill. I said, insurance agents have to have continuing ed. Teachers have to have continuing ed. My husband's an optometrist. He just got through with 3 days of it and is taking 3 more days in June of continuing ed.
Yeah.
I mean, we demanded of dentists, of chiropractors, and even family practitioners. If you belong to the Academy of Family Physicians, you are required to have 150 hours every 3 years. Now that's 50 hours a year.
Yeah.
So you're telling this internist, this general practitioner, that is not a member of the academy, that you're going to make him go to school for 22 hours a year? That's terrible. I mean, really, the idea that they would have to be made to do something like that, especially in the light of herpes, of AIDS, you know, all these new things that are coming out. That
and heart disease and all of those.
Health is good for you, right? Exercise is good for you. Cholesterol, we didn't know about that. We were killing our bodies years ago with wholesome food like butter and eggs and milk. You know, just clogging up those arteries so good. Steaks, right? Yum, yum, yum. No baked chicken, broiled chicken, you know, none of that kind of stuff. So we learn things every day, and they probably don't have time unless you force them to go to school to learn it. And we didn't even say what you had to take. We were going to leave it up to the board. But it was just like pulling teeth. I mean, I was Miss Bad Girl. Really bad girl. Bad idea, but it's coming. Most people don't realize that they don't have to have it. So it's coming.
Looking back over your time in office so far, what do you feel like has been most satisfying to you? I guess in the way of accomplishments, or most satisfying otherwise?
I guess most satisfaction is not coming from passing laws, okay?
Not coming from
for passing laws for 40 days. That's the least satisfying to me, is to have to go down there and argue with a bunch of idiots, you know, or either pass something that is so nebulous and watered down, you know, like the seatbelt law. I mean, that's all right. So they don't have to stop you if you're not wearing your seatbelt, and it's a $15 fine if you don't have it on.
So how are they going to know if you don't?
They have to be stopping you for a DUI or something else. Yeah, some other reason. That's the most watered down part. You know, why are we wasting our time? So I guess the frustration is seeing some of the things like things I don't think we need, like the
Mhm.
Dalton Carpet Center.
Yeah.
The farmer's market in Perry, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
The Akron
So these are
Women's-
not satisfactions.
These are not
disappointments.
These are disappointments.
Yeah.
The satisfaction is when somebody calls and says, my son's in jail and I'm bound by restraints because I have a heart problem and I can't make it to Savannah once a week.
Mhm.
Can you get him moved closer? Then
Mhm.
I didn't ask him to get out.
Yeah.
So I try to get him moved closer
Mhm.
so he can have the touch of his family
Mhm.
close by.
Mhm.
Helping the guy with the insurance, helping this girl try to find out why she can't get into Georgia State
Mhm.
University.
Mhm.
It's those kind of things
Yeah.
that I really get some
Uh-huh.
pleasure out of.
So your constituent contacts
Yeah, the
and
constituent
helping your
contact.
constituents is
Yeah.
really the big satisfaction.
Knowing who to go to
Yeah.
help them solve their
Uh-huh.
problems.
Yeah.
Because it's government is big.
Right.
Government
Multi-layered.
is- Oh, wow. We don't even talk about human resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh.
it takes time
Mhm.
and education to find out who to go to and
Right.
get the results you need.
Yeah. Looking ahead, what do you want to accomplish?
Well, here I go. I'm off with the constituent service, okay? Getting that designated smoking bill through.
Yeah,
will
that's
mean
your
a
big
lot to me.
Goal next.
It really
Uh-huh.
will. Not only for me, but because of my children.
Uh-huh.
When the Surgeon General Coop says the secondhand smoke, passive smoke is
Mhm.
dangerous to you, then it's my children who are suffering.
Yeah.
And anybody else that's in the same
Mhm.
proximity.
Mhm.
I know since I did give up smoking, my tolerance towards smoke has lessened.
Yeah.
And it picks up on chemicals, gasoline
Mhm.
fumes, cigars and pipes. Absolutely, it'll take me to my
Mhm.
knees. And people don't realize this.
Yeah.
That there are people who are really allergic to it.
Mhm.
Not that they don't like it,
Mhm.
but they're allergic to it.
Yeah, or that they have a moral thing about, oh, it's
Yeah.
not good to smoke. It's really
It
really is a health.
Smoke if you want to.
Uh-huh.
Just keep it away from me so I
Yeah.
can feel good.
Do it in an enclosed
Right. Don't make me wear
area.
the bowl. You wear the
Put on
bowl.
a suit.
I've
A bubble,
enjoyed
right.
these editorials
Yeah.
that are coming out from Marlette and Scrawls and all that. Did you see the one last week? It was in the paper. It had the big old guys, the cigar, behind this big executive desk.
Uh-huh.
And it said Tobacco Institute. And on the wall it said, quit breathing. Oh, that's wonderful.
Woo. I hope you're successful on that
Oh.
bill, I must say. Looking at yourself as one among many legislators, what do you feel has been your impact as a senator?
I think showing that women can get the job done,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not so emotional,
Mm-hmm.
that you can rationalize.
Uh-huh.
I know when I first went into office and was elected in 1980, there were no women office holders then.
Mm-hmm.
Helen Selman is our representative from this area now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a woman mayor in Fairburn.
Yeah.
We have women on the Palmetto City Council, on the Union City Council, on the Haywood Council.
Hmm.
There's, in Fayette County, commissioners.
Uh-huh.
So I think everybody says, hey, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't do it.
Right.
In fact, most men I think, trust us to do the job and do it right and not take money under the table.
Mm-hmm. So you
If
really
they want a
think
man.
there is something to this thing that said that women are more honest and
I do.
Uh,
I really do.
uh-huh.
I do. I think we've had to be because we've been mothers.
yeah.
In fact, you look at the prison systems, you'll find a very low rate of offenders are women.
Yeah.
Because we just don't do it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not in our nature.
Uh-huh.
ERA is not really ERA.
What do you
we
mean?
are different.
Uh-huh.
We are physically different.
Uh-huh.
We are mentally different. Does
Well,
not
you mean equal rights is
rights. I said sometimes it's not equal,
uh-huh.
But a crook is a crook is a crook.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying all men are crooks, but they think they can get by with more.
Yeah.
I really do believe
Yeah.
that.
But on the issue of equal rights, the Equal Rights Amendment, do you think that women should have equal rights under the law?
I do, just like smokers.
Yeah.
I have no objection to anybody if they want to smoke. Just don't mess up my ear.
Yeah. Do it in a designated area.
That's right. Do
Yeah.
it in a designated area so I'll know what I'm walking into. But no, I think even the courts have recognized equal rights now in child custody battles.
Yeah.
But I think the state's the biggest about ERA I ever saw. There are very few. There are no women department heads. They're all men.
Yeah.
Why?
Why do you think?
Because men are in charge. And they will be until more women get out there and stick up for themselves. I know the lieutenant governor's always said, you know, he's always forgiving women equal rights. And he is surrounded by women down in his office. But he's not going to nominate one for the transportation board.
And he
Or
could.
get sure
he has that power.
Sure he has. He's got candidates just like the speaker has candidates.
And they happen to be men.
And there are no female committee chairmen in the Senate. When there certainly could be.
Yeah.
When there certainly could be.
What would happen if you and the other woman senator pointed that out to the lieutenant governor?
I think I
gave him a
would.
list of names.
I'm not on his list.
Qualified women. Other qualified women.
I don't think I'm really on his list. I agreed to disagree with him on several issues.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. But they surround themselves by women because they know that women are going to get the job done.
At lower levels.
Yes.
Yeah. To get
It's
the work
like
done.
CNS Bank. Most of your CNS branches have women managers. They're vice presidents. Why? Tell me they can't get them for less money. And they know they're going to get the job done too. So we're still being discriminated against. And I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're capable of running a branch bank, like over here in Fairburn, what's wrong with paying you? They'd rather save their money and spend it in investments, I guess.
Yeah.
But it really, I've talked to some bank employees and they said, you want to know why? I'll tell you why. They know that we'll work cheaper.
Yeah.
And we'll be there. The job will get done.
Yeah.
So I think that's why maybe more and more women are being elected too. But men see the same thing.
That they make good public officials.
They make very
do
good
the
public
work.
officials.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to speak out.
Yeah. What has it been like to be a woman in the Senate, especially since there's so few women in the Senate?
Well, I have not been invited on any golfing excursions. I haven't been invited on fishing excursions. They don't know how to handle us. They really don't know how to handle us. The lobbyists don't know how to handle us. The men, I think, inside the chamber are finding out that, hey, she could be a real threat because more and more women are offering themselves. And they're finding out that they're getting elected.
Yeah.
So it's a threat to you. But I've known most of those guys, for 8 years now or better. And we're just, good friends. They don't look at me as a threat because I'm from 34. But now if I were a man from the 34, that's my district number.
Right.
If I were a man from the 34.
So it's not the 34th, it's that you're a woman.
Yeah.
So they see women as a threat generally, but not necessarily just one in this district.
No. No, they think, hey, that happened to me.
Uh-huh.
And it did to Bob Argo very close.
Uh-huh.
He had a very close racial Athens
Yeah.
in the house.
Uh-huh.
There's some sharp women out there, and we're getting more and more of
Mhm.
them.
So it sounds like it's a kind of off and on or up and down. Maybe individually they can work with a woman
Yeah.
if they know her, but generally they don't know
Right.
kind of how
You-
to.
and they can be their own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I do too.
Mm-hmm.
You get a pushy female in there, someone who's not willing to learn the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
They can set you back 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the male ego. I guess.
Pushing them in a little bit farther than
Then they're willing to go.
willing to be pushed at that point.
You've got to learn. Politics is a game.
That the backlash from that is
That's right.
pretty
It's
tremendous.
not worth it.
Mhm.
It's not worth it.
Mhm.
It's like, you're taking 10 baby steps forward and 10 leaps back.
Yeah.
Every time somebody opens their mouth with a comment.
Mhm.
And you learn to take a lot of this, well, honey, come on, let's go,
Uh-huh.
Come on, little sister.
Just let those go by. Yeah.
I'll get you.
File that.
File that in front of you. I'll get you.
Yeah. Have you seen any changes for women in the state Senate or in the state legislature generally?
Changes in the Senate are coming slow.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. But in the House, I think they're coming very rapid.
Okay, let me ask that question again.
Okay.
Since the tape ran out. What changes have you seen for women in the state legislature generally?
Better qualified.
Uh-huh.
I think more women are being convinced they can do the job.
Mm-hmm. So they're getting more women in the House especially
In the House especially.
because better qualified women are putting themselves forward
Yeah.
for office.
And it's a lot easier
Mhm.
to represent a House district
Mhm.
than it is a Senate district.
They're smaller.
Much smaller.
Uh-huh.
You're looking like 30 to 32,000
Mm-hmm.
in a House district.
Yeah.
You're looking at like 130,000 in the Senate district.
Yeah.
So the mere numbers are staggering.
Mm-hmm.
And I could easily make this a career, just do Senate business.
Yeah.
But I've learned I don't have to go to every reception. I don't have to go to every open house.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to pace myself, where the first couple of years I thought I had to go to everything,
Uh-huh.
But now they know me.
Yeah.
And I can kind of just sit back and cool it
Uh-huh.
and go to what's important.
Yeah. So you're learning how to distinguish.
Yeah.
What problems do you think remain for women in the state legislature?
Leadership. As long as it's a good old boy system,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It is. Because that good old boy system is going to be very slow
Mm-hmm.
to allow women in leadership positions.
Do you think it's just going to take greater numbers of women finally to kind of
Sure
open
is.
that up at
Yeah.
the top?
Yeah. I sure do.
That we just need more women
Yes.
there, even more.
I mean, right now we're like fruit flies.
Yeah.
We're like little gnats,
But not multiplying as fast.
I mean, two
Not
out of
multiplying
56,
fast.
what
Yeah.
fucking Sally and I do.
Right.
But we can bring a perspective there from a female point of view, and there's
Uh-huh.
several issues like that.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, can you give an example of where
Yeah.
you all have, where
Yeah.
you two have?
well, excuse me just a minute.
You to give an example of. I always forget to turn off the speaker. I had asked you to give an example of an issue that had come up in the Senate that you and Sally Newbill had brought a female perspective to,
Well, I haven't really brought one with Sally.
or that you have, or.
You remember the missing and murdered children?
Mhm.
Paul Coverdale was then chairman of the Fulton delegation.
Mhm.
He wanted to put white roses on each delegation member's desk. I said, Paul, as a mother, and as a human being, unless we can put it on all 56 of them, I said, that looks to me like it's showboat. I said, there's not a soul out there who feels any worse than we do about these murdered and missing children. And he says, you're right. So I think we are more sensitive sometimes
to certain nuances about
right
things that you're doing.
Yeah, where a man will just, bull in a china shop, I guess. When you stop and think, hey, it sounds wonderful, but, that's just not the way to do things.
Right.
But if you want to do it, I'll be glad to have, donate some money along with some others.
Yeah.
To have it done.
Yeah. Well, that is pretty much the end of the interview. Are there any other things you would like to say that I haven't asked you about, or any other things that you think should be added to what we've talked about?
Golly, I think you're pretty thorough.
We tried to cover the waterfront, but if I've missed anything.
I say I weigh 117 pounds. I'm 50 years old. That's about the only thing we haven't covered. No, well, I think that's excellent.
I wish you much luck in your next campaign then.
Well, thank you.
And your designated areas for smokers.
Yes.